I'm originally from Australia. I've been in London for 6 years. So to the nice man filming, please don't tag me on Facebook because I'm going to say some nice things about the UK and Dad will get pissed. So I have two companies now in the UK, both of them slightly accidental. And I think, as is the way with London, I think the one thing that I like about London is that everybody in London seems to be from somewhere else, which means that everybody is there to do something, which means that the ecosystem is incredibly driven. There's a lot of things going on. There are a lot of entry points into the ecosystem across all forms. So whether you're getting set up, whether you're wanting to meet people, whether it's you're looking for investment, whether you're looking for customers, it's a very fast-moving, very, very hungry environment, which I quite like. People are less risk-averse. Technology is absolutely at the forefront, and I think no matter which way you lean politically, you cannot deny how much money the UK government has put into championing technology companies, which Mark touched on earlier. But it is actually quite impressive to see what they've managed to build in sort of the past 4 or 5 years. So we've got obviously the Tech City initiative, we've got the SEIS, EIS funding relief stuff if you move your company to the UK or as a limited company. And actually, if you are looking for investment, a lot of the VCs I know will probably require you to move your headquarters to the UK as a limited company anyway, so something to bear in mind there. But so I moved over sort of 6 years ago, and I now have a strategic comms PR agency in Shoreditch, so I sort of tell them annoy people like David over there. But we work with people like, who would you know, so TransferWise we worked with in the early days, Klarna, who's speaking today from Sweden, Twilio from San Francisco. We work with Space Safe Mobile Games, Cedars on the equity crowdfunding side, weirdly enough, it's a small world. And I find myself now advising a lot of them, particularly the sort of people like Klarna, people like with Braintribe in Vienna, which is enterprise, Twilio in San Francisco. It doesn't matter where you're from, the hardest thing in the world is obviously to try and figure out how to rebuild your base. And I think one of the things that these guys actually do exceptionally well at UKTI is help you from, not only from a business point of view, although they do from mentoring, from introductions, but also from things like just finding office space, like basically who you should talk to in terms of general business admin, taxes, finance, HR, things you need to know. They've got the network, which is actually really, really impressive. They're not over the top. I think we work with a couple of Marks in London, or Marks equivalents in London at the moment on with our sort of Vienna company. But from a culture point of view, so I came over 6 years ago. Didn't know anyone at all. It was a big, scary, rainy, grey place. I suppose that's less bad here because it's quite grey and rainy here too, but when you're Australian, it's a tough one. And I met a couple of, it was about sort of 4 years ago that when we already sort of had the tech scene. It was kind of starting to emerge around London. It was before the sort of government got into it. And I met a couple of guys, and we were sort of going around trying to sort of figure out what this world was that we were so interested in. And we found that there were a lot of events going on, but they were all quite disparate. There wasn't a lot of, some people sort of, there was at that point when sort of, I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember when like social media and agencies kind of overlapped with tech companies before tech companies kind of became a thing? It was a very weird time. Social media was pretending it was a thing. Everyone else realised it wasn't a thing, it was just a normal thing. And then we had these sort of startups, and they were all kind of overlapping, and there wasn't really a kind of central point of tech in London. So we kind of got together and decided that we would start running events. Not that we'd ever done that before, thought that was a good idea. And we started running some events, and we thought, we were trying to figure out what kind of events to run. Having not done it before. We thought, what are tech events missing? And the number one answer that came back about what tech events are missing is food. It's all just beer. So we thought, okay, we'll do a tech event with food, and that'll be our thing, we'll do that. And we thought we'd have 20 people in a park, having never run an event before. That was it, we were going to go to a park. We're going to have a barbecue in a park, 20 people. And we had 120 people sign up, and then found out it was illegal to barbecue in the royal parts of London, which is one thing as an Australian I didn't realise. I thought outdoor barbecuing is globally recognised in what we do. Turns out, sorry guys, I just saw that barbecue in the car. Well, seriously, but so we had 120 people sign up. This was 4 years ago now, and we ran this event. We shifted it to a pub, as one does, with an outdoor beer. That event, which was only ever supposed to be one event, we kind of asked, okay, well, that was great, we're going to do another one. 4 years later, we run events now in 17 cities around the world, which are all community focused. So we do every Friday night, the Silicon Drink About, which some of you may have heard about, is a sort of a Friday night beers for startups. And the point of it is the purpose of it is very simple. If you are in a 2-3 person company and it's a startup and you are working about 50 or 60 hours a week together in the same small office, the last thing you might want to do on a Friday is then spend another 3 hours at the pub with all those people you've been staring at the last Friday. But you might want to spend a couple of 3 or 4 hours having a few beers with people who are in the same position as you, who are facing the same stresses, the same problems, and kind of trade war stories. And that was how it started. And that event, which is now the one in 17 cities every Friday night, haven't got Helsinki yet, so I'm going to have to find someone, but we're working on it. We do have Copenhagen. I was hoping if we got Copenhagen, like the other Nordic countries, we'd be really competitive. We're working on that. But we average about 150 to 180 people every Friday on a regular Friday, up to 300 people if it's at a company. So we've done everywhere from, we did our first birthday at Whitehall. We had our 4th birthday in the middle, literally the middle of the roundabout, the Old Street roundabout this Friday night. I'll be at the end, unfortunately, but for about 400 or 500 people again. We've done company ones, Mind Candy, Badu, in London, their offices. Whenever there's a company that says we want to do one, it tends to be very big because people want to see inside companies. We've done fireside chats with most of the VCs. Actually, a fellow expat friend of mine who's also a London VC, Jason Ball, kind of popped down from the States to talk. He's a great one. Yeah, that's right. I'll point you out.
Yeah, come upstairs and I'm going to be on stage in about 45 minutes.
There you go. See, expats everywhere. So we do fireside chats. We do product nights once a month. All of them are sort of, and then we do sort of big kind of parties. And I think, weirdly enough, that community that just grew out of effectively what I call, I still refer to as my accidental business, because it was never meant to be a business. It was just 3 guys with beards who thought they'd run a barbecue. And London has this funny way of never letting you just run one barbecue. And that's what's kind of led me to have my own agency now. And I think it's a wonderful place. I think it's funny actually, because I think there's a lot of attention in the UK now on the Nordics, particularly on Nordic companies, Nordic tech companies, and there is probably an argument, at least from a press point of view, to say that being a Finnish company in London might actually be more advantageous to being a Finnish company in Finland at some point, if you're looking at it from an attention point of view, just because there is an absolute fascination with what's going on in the Nordics. You guys, to give you some, you probably know this already, but one of the stats I find really fascinating is that in the past 10 years, the entire UK has produced 11 billion dollar tech companies. Stockholm alone as a city produced 8, which is pretty crazy. So you can imagine why the UK is at the forefront of all of the things. We've got a lot of the sort of European media there as well, right? So they're always looking for new and exciting, interesting things. So there's a lot of focus, particularly on Finland and Sweden, obviously, with Supercell and Radio, the Finnish example. But it does mean that there's a really healthy kind of appetite. I think there's also obviously a lot of the investors in London, as we all know, and I think there's a lot to be said for the serendipity element of it. So I think sometimes just being in something for a while, you figure out really quickly actually like who's who, you get into the scene. It's quite welcoming. It's one of the things we worked really hard at, was to make it very, very welcoming. Somebody once referred to us as the welcome map for London tech. I can't tell if it's a compliment or not, I think it was. And I've had a great experience there. I mean, it's been very good to me. It's been hard work, but it's been absolutely 100% worth it, because I do think now I get to travel to things like this, going to Pioneers tomorrow morning early to do some stuff there. And to me, it's a bit of a trip actually. I think I was only ever meant to be in the UK for 5 years. That was like the maximum that I could have been there. I'm not legal, by the way. I'm legal, just to check. I didn't, yeah. I was only ever meant to be there for sort of 5 years, and I thought, you know, like anyone, I think I was 24 when I left Australia. It's just before I turned 25, and I just wanted to go get a good job in London, work on some sort of global PR agency, go home this week. And of course, life tends to have a funny way of getting in the way of simple plans. And so now I have my own agency, and I get to travel around to things like this. I go to places like Helsinki. I'm not sure my parents know where Helsinki is, so I'm doing pretty well. And they're pretty well travelled, they're military people. So very lucky, and tech's got a great way of being incredibly, as an industry, I love it because it's fast moving, but also because it's very welcoming. I think it's very open to all industries. I'm sure all of you have worked in other industries and gone through all the politics that are involved in that. Because I find tech, yes, of course, there's always politics, but it's incredibly mobile. And I think what these guys do, and it's weird because now, at one point, if I'd known what UK Tech when I came over, it'd be different, but the amount of clients I now refer to them as they're coming over to help sort out all the stuff that we can't. So all the really basic day-to-day stuff is actually really worth doing. So if you are thinking about doing it, I'd say, you know, come over. There's a couple of organisations that work in partnership with these guys, so London Partners, Tech City UK, I mentioned. And you can get a really good feel for how the city kind of breaks down. Because obviously there are lots of little pockets. You know, London's not really a city, it's a collection of villages. Still is actually, historically, but still sort of is. And there are little tech clusters everywhere. I mean, we've got, you know, there's obviously the classic one in East London. You've now got King's Cross, where Uber and Google and Facebook have now moved into a super giant headquarters. You've got Mayfair, which is where all our ACs are. We've got London Bridge, has got some stuff going in there. I mean, it's just ridiculous, the amount of co-working spaces and bits and pieces I think are going to be great. And Jason visits more co-working spaces than I do, I think, I look on his face.
What?
You visit more co-working spaces than I do.
There's been a working space explosion in London.
Yeah.
It's actually getting at ridiculous levels.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is true. I mean, obviously, the one big caveat with London, or one that I hear the most, is when talking to them, is yes, okay, we want to move to London, we know it's interesting, but it's freaking expensive. And it is expensive. But yeah, I guess you have to remember, there are, so things like the co-working spaces have been massively helpful for that, especially with young companies. But also, often, I guess the thing to remember is when places are expensive, it's probably because there's a lot of people making a lot of money. So, in terms of scaling a business, it's probably a good place to try and be as close to where that money is being made as you can, right? Because ultimately, you scale a business. So, yeah, it's been a bit, my story's a bit strange, but I think, you know, London has been very good to me, and I'm more than happy to say that on the record. As an Australian, which feels a bit like treason, but I'm going to say it. But it's been fun, and I think there's never really been a better time if you're in tech to kind of go over and maybe just go for, you know, a week and just go over along to the events. And, I know we do a newsletter that has a load of tech events that you can check out. It's on number 3 leads.com site for newsletter. And we do that on purpose. We have a jobs board as well, which has all the sort of companies that are hiring. And we do that just so the people that are coming in can have access to not just our events, but sort of all events. And I encourage you to kind of come over and get out there. I'm actually doing, I think I'm on stage later this afternoon with another VC that isn't Jason, because we're not allowed on stage together anymore. But yeah, I'll be around all day today doing a couple of intros and fireside chat, but obviously also what else. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.